여러분 안녕하세요. Welcome to another video. Aren't you guys excited? I heard you. Anyway, in today's video, I want to talk about some mistakes. I want to talk about some mistakes that I've made while learning Korean. Yes, I've made quite a few mistakes while learning Korean because it was a brand new language for me, oddly. So I am not centered. Cool. Because when I started learning my other languages, mainly ASL, it was just a little bit easier because I worked at a coffee shop where majority or a lot of our customers were deaf, so I had that interaction with deaf people and I was able to like learn just through immersion. With Korean, I had no exposure whatsoever. I didn't know any Koreans. I did listen to K-pop, but what actually got me into like interested in Korean or learning Korean was K-dramas, because I wanted to be able to watch a K-drama and do other stuff. Okay, great, cool. Anyway, some mistakes that I've made. Let's start. That was a very long intro, and for what? So the first thing is going to be learning grammar first. I've talked about this plenty of times, especially on my TikTok. When I first started learning Korean, I like jumped headfirst into grammar because I thought that was more important. I wasn't really retaining any sort of vocabulary. It was just grammar. I was like, okay, grammar points. What's the ending of that grammar? Okay, how do you say this? But what does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. And while that isn't bad per se, the reason why it's a mistake for me was because I wasn't learning any vocabulary to use with the grammar that I was learning, which has pushed back my ability to make sentences. We love that. That's why whenever people now, if people were to ask me like, what's like a tip that you would give me for learning Korean or like etc., I always say learn vocabulary. Learn vocabulary, learn phrases in the beginning, like when you first start learning Korean, because it's going to be way easier for you to be able to make sentences, and it'll be great for listening because you'll have a large vocabulary bank. Me, because my vocabulary bank is small now, it's bigger, but it was smaller back then, or a few months ago. It was hard for me to A, make sentences, but also B, listening practice. I didn't understand what people were talking about because I didn't know any vocabulary. That was a mistake. Don't do that, okay? Don't be like me, as I always say. Don't be like your auntie. Another mistake that I have made is translating sentences word for word. A perfect example is I was learning some phrases from a certain app, and the word was talbabo. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, tal means daughter, babo means stupid or idiot. So I was like, or dumb. So I was like, dumb daughter. I was like, oh my god, now I'm understanding. And then I was like, oh, toootally. That's actually not what the word means. The word actually means a father who loves his daughter oh so very much. See, I've been reading and I'm like, oh yeah, 일본 학생 학교, just like whatever, and then I'll translate it and I'm like, how did they get there with this sentence? I don't know. The next thing is going to be thinking there's an English translation to everything. Shocker, there isn't. That's the beauty of languages, which I think is so cool, is that in some languages not everything can be translated to your native language. Isn't that cool? Like, there's a lot of things in Korean that can't be translated in English. That's so freaking cool. And it's like you kind of have to truly start to learn about their culture to see like, what does that word mean culturally? Oh, the word, there's a word, oh my god, what is it called? Oh my god, I think it's called jong, something like that. I'm sorry, Koreans. There is a word in Korean and there's no like English translation to it, but it's like Koreans know what it means. It's like a happiness, or like a, I can't even explain it. I remember my teacher told us about that word. Like in Koreans we have this word called jong, and she was like, it kind of means this, but it doesn't really mean that. Like it's a deeper meaning than basically what English can provide. You know? You guys are like, no. Okay, the next one is going to be buying too many resources at once. Yes, this would have saved me a lot of money if I didn't do that. I was very excited when I first started learning Korean, and I thought I needed all the books, ebooks, regular books, classes. Blech. Instead of taking time and trying to see if there's any sort of free resources, I was just like, no, I'll buy everything. I don't use half of those books that I purchased. They're kind of just sitting like on like my bookshelf, just like collecting dust, because I don't use them. And I wish I would have calmed down and actually Googled some resources to see if there's anything for free. It would have said you like, blah, blah, huh? 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 Oh, hi. Same thing with classes. As you guys know, I have been taking classes for quite some time, and some of the classes that I have taken, I regret taking them only because they were really expensive and I didn't learn that much from the class. But that probably was my fault. I just didn't do enough research. Also, just like looking into like more cheaper alternatives like ITALKI. I will probably make a video about them later, talking about my experiences with it. Is it worth it? Should you do it? The cost of it, whatever. That is significantly cheaper than all the classes that I have taken combined. Yeah, just buying too much. I did wrong. I did very, very, very wrong. And then the last thing is going to be studying too much and not practicing. So yeah, I always study Korean, but I don't really give myself the opportunity to practice what I have studied. So that causes me to forget a lot of what I've practiced, right? I know, it's pretty great. And practicing, that could just be me just speaking out loud. That could be me going on Hello Talk, or talking like with my tutor, or just going to a Korean restaurant and just speaking Korean. Like, it could be anything. I thought that I needed to practice for like 3 hours straight going over grammar, and that didn't really help me like at all, because one, I wasn't reviewing what I was practicing or what I was studying. I would just practice something or outstudy something, and then I'll just move on to the next thing and study and move on and study, and I never went back to review anything. And I also didn't practice. So it's like, what was the point of studying if you don't practice? You know? That's another reason why I feel like my Korean didn't really progress. Now I feel like it has a little. Back a few months ago, I think that's why my Korean was kind of just like not going anywhere, is because I was studying grammar and I wasn't practicing. No. Yeah, it's like I was just sitting there just like reading, studying, and not even applying it to my everyday life. And I thought that I was going to be able to learn Korean that way, or to memorize Korean that way. Isn't that cute? But we're better. That's pretty much it. That's like all the mistakes that I can think of that I have made while learning Korean. Yeah. What are some of the mistakes that you have made while learning your language? Whatever language it is. It doesn't have to be Korean, it could be anything. What are some mistakes that you have made? Yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Oh wait, no. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, please. We're still trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. I know we can do it if you would just subscribe. 여러분 봐주셔서 감사합니다. I don't know what that was. I guess I have energy. I drink a lot of coffee, so my energy level is like at an all-time high. 안녕. Now.